Nothing like a bit of pre-talk pressure. I have a question for this audience. Quite simple. You don't need to show hands, just a polite nod or smile will do. Did you clean your teeth this morning?
Yes.
Excellent. Will you be cleaning your teeth again quite soon?
Yes.
Excellent. Anybody got worries with technique? Super. Now that seems easy, doesn't it? But I'm a 70s child, and in the late 70s, even coming from a very nice home, my mother would sometimes say that it was okay for us to just have an apple instead of cleaning our teeth before we went to bed. My sister took lemon barley water to sip through the night. She doesn't have great teeth. And we thought dental floss was what you used to mend the action men. So if I was a dentist addressing this audience, I would be really proud of you. Not just for clearly your exemplary oral health, but also because that health message, that simple bit of message that if you clean your teeth with a bit of plastic twice a day, the whole population's general health will be better. That's just caught on from nowhere. No adverts, no green cross code, but everybody knows it. But I'm not a dentist. I'm a pelvic health physiotherapist. And what we specialise in is helping people with bladder and bowel and pain problems sort of around here. And we've got some great public health messages too. We've got simple, cost-effective things that the general public can do, we can all do. But we keep our messages tucked behind closed doors because they're a little bit bolder. But I want to try one of them on you tonight. So my question is, did you have a happy bowel movement? You see why I didn't ask for a show of proof. Now, if I said, are you going to have a happy bowel movement sometime soon? I can feel the energy level drops a little bit. And if I said technique, share, no? And that's the problem that and physiotherapists like myself are keen to address. Because constipation is something that affects a lot of people. The NHS statistics are that 1 in 8 people has an element of irritable bowel syndrome. And in childhood, 5 to 30% of children experience constipation. And that's probably just the ones whose parents take them to see the doctor. And so I want us to think about how we can recognise if our bowel needs some love and attention and how to help it to empty better. I did warn you. Now the thing with constipation is, you think of it as, is it how often you go or how well you go? And traditionally you might be thinking, well, I haven't been for a few days. Does that mean I'm constipated? But it's what's normal for you, and that can be anything from 3 times a day to 3 times a week. But if it goes awry, you're drifting into constipation territory. But it's also to do with how easy it is. And if you're having to strain and push, or you're getting unpleasant things like rabbit droppings, then you're also going down that route. But there are other symptoms as well that you probably don't even recognise. But those you see in children really clearly. So we have a 9-year-old, and most mornings he will bounce into our bedroom with an extremely accurate time alert and a weather forecast. So we get it's 6:32 a.m. and it's raining, which is supposed to encourage us to get up. And he's this bouncy, energetic child. But some mornings, we wake with a start and it's like 5 to 7, flip, we're going to be late. Where is he? And then this droopy, pallid, listless thing appears in our bedroom, flops backwards on the bed and goes, I hate school. And then you know what it's like. You've got to peel them out their pyjamas, slide them into their Star Wars pants, get their uniform on, and then you drag them down for breakfast. You go through that torturous thing of, would you like some Weetabix? Would you like some Snickers? Toast with Nutella? And eventually they sit down and he's picking away at his cereal. And then we're like, oh golly, this is going to be a hard morning. And then suddenly he'll look up and he'll go, I need a poo. And he's gone. Down the corridor, the door bangs open, the door bang closed. We hear the bottom land on the seat. And then it goes really, really quiet. then we hear the magic sound. A little bit of singing. Just drifting down. And then we hear half a toilet roll, 3 litres of water, another bang at the door, and then this transformed child springs back, sits down at the kitchen table, eats his cereal with gusto and says, "What's for tea?" And so we need to look for other signs that our bowel needs emptying, other than what's going on here. It is bloating and discomfort and time, but it's also a funny taste in your mouth, loss of appetite, bad breath. You might have to tell someone about that one. And it's also feeling lethargic and feeling like you've lost concentration or your memory's not as good as it should be. And traditionally, remedies, once you know you're in that position, are about what goes in the top. So it's your prune juice and your extra fibre and your over-the-counter medications. But physiotherapists and nurses like myself who specialise in this area, we've got tips about what to do at the other end. And I know you want to hear them. So we have 3 tips that I would like to share with you today. And they all start with P. And the first one is about position. Because nature did not intend us to sit ladylike on a toilet. Because sitting on a toilet kinks the bowel and keeps all the muscles underneath closed. Nature meant us to squat behind a tree. Because when you're squatting, your bowel straightens out, your muscles underneath the pelvic floor relax naturally, and you've got a bit of pressure on the colon from above. And if you think about it, if you had bad wind, you wouldn't do this. Yeah? So what we recommend is that anybody with even slightly short legs should put their feet up on a step, bringing your knees higher than your hips, keep your bottom back, your back straight, and rest on your knees, and they call it the finger. The second P I would like you to consider is that you cannot have a poo in 10 seconds. It is solid matter. You can't just open the tap and get on with it. So ladies especially, you need patience. Now my grandfather, he was a formidably tall and slightly grumpy man in the mornings. He would start the day by going out with his tiny dog to the corner shop where he would buy a newspaper. And he would bring it home and he would disappear into the toilet for about 15 minutes, but appear a much more smiley grandpa afterwards. Now, he did have 9 children and 26 grandchildren, so when we were visiting, that was 6 before they started. I suspect he did need a quiet moment, but I always thought that what he was doing was having a quick poo and reading the paper. But actually science now tells us that what was happening was that walk to the paper shop was getting the peristaltic action of the colon going. And actually, he was sitting there for at least 10 minutes having a good read, which was switching off his brain, which would get in the way of him being able to have a good poo. So you need a good 10 minutes with your paper, or your Sudoku, or your next public speaking talk that you're practicing. And then you will find that you will naturally empty your bowel a lot more easily. Which brings me to my third P, which is to push or not to push. And our understanding now is that we don't want to push in the traditional way of taking a deep breath and bearing down. Because if you just try it, it's more fun than closing your eyes, try it. You'll feel all your abdominal muscles tighten up, and that will tighten your pelvic floor underneath. So at best, or at worst, you're going to get nothing. You might get a skinny poo, or what will happen is, you wait till you see what comes this week. It's like squeezing a toothpaste tube in the end of the top. You get a little bit, and a lot gets left behind. So you're left with that. Was that it? So this week, just keep these 3 P's in mind as you go about your morning ablutions. And I know that in a few days' time, you'll be coming back to the breakfast table with a little bit more of a skip in your step, a hum under your breath, and a little bit of a smug smile. And when you find that's happening on a regular basis, maybe start to think about sharing these 3 tips with other people you know, especially children and teenagers, because if they can get good habits now, they're going to be prevented for problems in the future. And then when you're feeling a little bolder, maybe you could talk to a colleague at work. It's an excellent book club conversation. And my son once said, "Does even the Queen poo?" And I said, "Yes, everybody poos. So don't worry about status, no matter how important your friends. Join my movement for universal happy morning ablutions, and please pass these tips."